Ho, ho, holy harpsichord. I guess it's day 5 of Boltmas, and today we are going to visit Santa. Now, we're leaving a little bit later than I wanted to. A couple of things came up, 10 a.m. My car has been charging primarily off of solar, based on the last time I returned. I think I had like 20% battery, and so we're back up to like 60 or something like that. The first stop that I have programmed in is about 150 miles away, and our estimated arrival time is about 12:40. We're probably going to get there closer to maybe like 1 o'clock, because I do think I'm going to need to stop along the way. Well, I know I'm going to need to stop along the way. So I think I'm going to probably check out one of the charge point sites just to confirm that my RFID card is working. It didn't work at the Loves when I tried it the last Boltmas video. But enough for these long introductions. Let's hit the road. It's already after 10 a.m. So I want to hopefully make this a quick as possible round trip and do a little bit of shopping along the way. Just a little bit of an update on the expected conditions for this drive, though. We had pretty significant winds that would have been headwinds last night, but I don't think that we're going to have those winds today. It's really hard to tell. I don't know what's going to happen in the valley, and I didn't really look at a wind report. But it was down to freezing last night, and not a hard freeze, but just enough to basically put some ice on the top of the water bowls and stuff like that. So the battery is probably chilled. I wasn't charging it all the way overnight. Do a bit of a flag check before we get onto the freeway, and we actually have a favorable wind this time since we're heading south. So it's not quite as strong as the headwind it looks like that we had the last trip, but it certainly won't hurt our efficiency. It'll probably help it a decent amount. And let's see, as the efficiency starts to, or the power output starts to settle, it's helping a little bit, but not much, honestly. And I think that's just, I'm basing this on baseline efficiency. This is basically what you would expect the conditions to be, or the efficiency to be, when it's 70 to 80 degrees outside. So seeing this when it's in the 50s, it's probably helping a little bit. It's, like I said, it's certainly not hurting though. We're approaching Dunnigan, Road 6. I actually cut this from the last video because it was going too long, but I might mention it as I'm exiting here. Like I said, I'm just going to check out this charge point, make sure my card is working, and then top up enough to make sure I can make it the remaining 90 miles or so that we have to go. But yeah, off to the right here as we exit, there's a couple of Italian stone pines. There's a truck parked under there. There actually used to be a gas station there and a convenience store stop. And I don't know if that lot is for sale. There's a couple of for sale signs down there. But that's one of those things that I could see Iona, if they wanted to put in a beacon where it was just a sort of standalone site with on-site amenities, that would be a perfect location for it. Directly off the freeway, out of the way of everything else, and just a perfect location for just drop a big old site down and put a bunch of chargers there. Because like I said, the Electrify America here is a bit lackluster. This charge point unit off this exit, it's just a single CPE 250 that I think they could definitely upgrade this site, expand it. And then of course, the next exit down is where you have the 2 superchargers and the Pilot Flying J that's going in. So I think it would be a perfect opportunity if Iona has the funding and interest, and if that property is still for sale. So now let's check to see if my charge point card still works. All right, so here we are, a little under 60 miles in. A little over 90 miles to go here at this food mart. Just check and see. Now if it authorizes, then yeah. So it looks like that might have just been a issue. And this is also an issue. See how this wraps? This is the one thing that I don't like about the cabling system, how they did them. All right, see if I can do this without dropping my camera. See how it wraps around like that? It always wraps around like that. Yeah, I don't know how to do that other than maybe how they did it with the Express Plus station, where it kind of goes on either side. I think that's a better design than this. So, and again, this is from, the moment I paid to the moment it actually started delivering power was 22 seconds. So this was a little slow for this ChargePoint Express. Not terrible, and like I said, the convenience of being able to use an RFID. Then I confirmed that my old RFID card works. This again is the updated 62.5 kilowatt model. They used to have a 50 kilowatt here, had some problems. And then of course, this is one of the things I don't like is this acrylic. Just, I don't know what ChargePoint needs to do with this, but they can seriously improve their stations. And then, like I said, just overall, this is a great stop. And I actually have to use the bathroom anyway, probably, or drink too much coffee. And then there's another lot for sale. So who knows? Maybe, like I said, maybe Iona does want to get in on this action, this Dunnigan action. All right, so we're here just a little bit longer than what I wanted to be. What I noticed is my battery was still cold, right? Because like I had mentioned, it was down to freezing overnight, and my car was not plugged in overnight. So it does look like the battery is cold soaked a little bit. So it's taken a little bit longer to charge up. Just shot another side video on the way. But we can pretty much leave anytime, even though it's like 91 miles remaining, because there are other options to charge along the way, even though this is sort of my first step site that I just kind of want to check out along the way. So yeah, we're pretty close. I think we can head out. Again, one of the other things too, I should check this functionality. Yeah. Oh, I accidentally swiped my card. Yeah, so if you swipe your card, it will automatically shut off the station. So we were here for 25 minutes, longer than I wanted to be. Like I said, I only wanted to put in about 25%. Yeah, 61 cents per kilowatt hour. But the battery is cold, so it'll be easier to charge faster later. So there's, between the amount of driving that we're gonna do, it's gonna start warming up a little bit naturally. And then just the actual act of charging it improve the charging speed by about 10 kilowatts. So let's get ready to hit the road. Yeah, this is a nice little site. It's got the level 2. I really do think that they could here, like, nice canopy for the gas pumps, but you've got your paper towels, you got your trash, you got your squeegees, got the convenience store. I was able to use the bathroom, which was a huge relief, literally. And then again, we're just here right off the freeway on-ramp, off-ramp, and just a easy exit to get in and out of, less crowded than the Road 8 exit. And I really, like I said, I think the big thing that they could do here is add a second CPE, 250 or 280, and pair them. And then that would make this a much more valid and compelling site for people who are traveling. Because right now, Bolt EV owners, any EV with maybe a 200 amp charging limit, it's fine, but it's just not that compelling, right? It's not enough to make someone go out of their way to want to use this charger. So hopefully they can improve that and get it a little bit more exciting and compelling. Heading back through Sacramento, this time we will not be exiting Highway 50 over here next to downtown Old Town Sacramento. So we're going to just continue on I-5, so just kind of staying in these leftmost lanes as we come through. And so for those of you who prefer to just stay on I-5, you know, the whole time you're driving, say if you're going to Southern California or, you know, up into Oregon and Washington, right? Just basically sticking to Interstate 5 the entire way. These chargers will be a little bit more compelling for you versus where we, like I said, we exited last time over there on Highway 50 East, which is just a couple miles, gets you onto Highway 99 South, which for me is kind of a preferred way of going north and south in California, just because of the number of lanes, the amenities, all of that. It's just so much faster and more convenient to take Highway 99 than it is to take I-5. But if all you're doing is trying to blaze a trail and go as fast as you can, well, this is the route that you would want to take. And so the chargers that I'm going to showcase in this Boltmas video are the kinds of chargers that you can expect to find. And hopefully we find some, and hey, maybe we'll even have some late Boltmas surprises. This is something that I was afraid might happen, is, you know, because my battery was so cold at that first charge point stop, I wasn't able to make it to, well, let's just call them waypoints. Not the feature site for this Boltmas video, but the the site that's enabling me to get there when I don't leave with the full battery or whatever. So yeah, because I was only charging at 20 to 30 kilowatt at that last charge point, I don't think I can make it to the waypoint site that I had that I had listed. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit a little bit early and see if I can make it to a different charging stop. Heading into Flag City here. This is one of those Love's sites that I checked out before, and no real work that I could see at Love's, just in terms of building chargers. And then this is the truck only Pilot Flying J. So I checked this last time too, and there was absolutely nothing there. It was terrible. And then, there's no sign or, any information about them ever even putting another charger in here, right? Like this area right over here, I kind of noted how this area would be like a perfect location for a charger because it was kind of out of the way. But then I said, oh man, they have so much room in this lot. They could easily put a big old charging station somewhere over in here. Like if only there were a way to kind of identify where they might put a big old charging station and, where it might be. God, I just can't do this anymore. Holy crap. What the hell are you doing, GM Energy? What the hell are you doing? Walter, are you seeing this? Someone Stop, press the stop button, stop indeed. Kinder Morgan, actually, I think they might be one of the companies that works on this. Holy Toledo. This is one of the 6-stall implementations, exactly where I said they should put it. Holy crap. This is crazy. And they've got so much in here. And I guess this confirms what that railing was that I saw at the Dunnigan one. Those are their emergency stop buttons. But my goodness. And then this is that bigger format, right? This is the 6-stall, 350 kilowatt chargers, canopy location, right next to the Denny's, right? Like right next to the facilities, right next to the kitties, hi kitties. So this is just amazing. This is Flag City, one of those locations that I called out as super important, right? Just a great location. They were even able to fit this in without really impacting the trees at all. That's super cool. So they were able to maintain the trees. I guess we'll have to see. Hopefully the trees survived the construction here, but oh my goodness. And again, like I said, Walter, I think Walter is feasting after this. Now, I don't know where they put the transformer for this, because these are the 350 kilowatt cabinets, and this is the switch gear. So given the way they've been sizing this, I can't imagine that it's more than maybe 1,000 kVA, maybe a 1,200 or 1,500 kVA transformer at most. But my goodness, this is exactly what I was hoping for, with, I would say, one exception, right? And then GM Energy has usually been pretty good about this. I understand that they can't put a full pull-through parking stall right here, but I think they could remove this bollard, make this also a designated, just make this a designated pull-through charging stall, because the other thing that happens here is, because of this configuration, this isn't really a parking space. So you're already losing a parking space here. So I would say just move that parking space over, let it be whoever wants to park there, ICE or EV, and then leave this as a single pull-through lane, so that you have at least one pull-through stall at this location. And I think that would be perfect, because otherwise this is a location that would be super hard, especially when it's busy, to come in with a trailer without detaching. So if you could do one stall here that's a double stall, I think that would be perfect. So I don't know how open they are to modifying these plans, but like I said, this bollard could just be removed and just make this a pull-through charging stall. But otherwise, this obviously isn't one of the sites that I was featuring. And again, right next to the Denny's, facilities for Pilot Flying J. I just came here because I wanted to just document this, to check on it and then document it, because what we've seen is just a massive amount of sleeper sites for GM Energy, and at this point, right, it looks like they are making a huge move in California. So yeah, like I said, this is the location that made the most sense for me. Yeah, it's a 1,600 amp service for the switch gear. So yeah, I don't think that there's any surprises on the hardware here. They're still probably limiting it to 350 kilowatt, 175 by 175, just standard. And then again, all CCS that I can see. But a dedicated trash can, squeegees, paper towels for each charging dispenser. And then unlike the other ones, again, the plastic's still on the cables. These aren't covered, but the screen's not powered up. So I don't even know if the transformer has been installed yet. So there's really no way of knowing how long this site is going to take to go live. But like I said, this is the size that we wanted to see, right? Having 6 stalls, ADA compliant stall, easy access. I would say the one thing that I would want to see is let this stall be a pull-through stall, and then that way you can make, instead of one other parking space and a half parking space, just make this a full-size parking space, and then make this all part of one pull-through lane. And chef's kiss, I would say this site would be perfect. So like I said, I'll see if I can see a transformer as I pull out. I still do want to push up my charge just a little bit before I hit that waypoint site. And like I said, if we see the transformer go in, then we'll kind of know how long it is before the site will go live. But for now, I don't think we have that information. Wow. So a location with a Denny's. Like I said, the only thing I would say is with this format, they have the opportunity to add a pull-through stall, so I'd love to see them do that. Like I said, kind of pulling through here. This is just a big facility, and it's way busier than I thought it would be, given that this is the middle of the week. And then, of course, like I said, I'm looking around. I don't know where it would make sense for them to put the pad for the transformer, but so far I haven't seen it. Maybe with some of this construction tape here, maybe it is over on this side. Like I said, I'm just like, they did some trenching here, but oh, they do have a pad. They have a pad. There's no transformer yet. So it's going to be over here on this side. So I'll know where to look for it. If I swing through again, I'll know where to look for it to see if they've installed a transformer yet, because that'll kind of be an indicator of how long we have to wait before it goes live. But here I'm really exercising my ChargePoint Express, or my ChargePoint RFID card. So this is just a nice little, like I said, a gas station, unaffiliated travel stop location, taco truck here. So just an easy stop to do. Pretty simple process, and we'll see how long it takes to activate. Like I said, the handshake usually isn't very long on these charge points. Yeah, so about 20, 21, 22 seconds. And we're already charging at 10 kilowatt faster than the fastest speed that we saw at the previous stop. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the battery was just cold. I think there's something going on with Android Automotive, and something about it, like I said, the last time my screen froze up, it felt like a software glitch as well, and I'm experiencing the same thing again. And it's almost like if I turn the car off with Android Auto still up and the phone plugged in, it does some sort of a glitch, which then kind of messes up the screen and makes it so it's not really responsive at all. Again, this is something that can still be used, and maybe like this is something that I can discuss or show or demonstrate elsewhere. But what's interesting is, even though the screen itself doesn't take inputs, the information that it presents is still correct and accurate. So I think what we're going to do is, that waypoint site that I had plugged in is only like 20 miles away from here. So at 25% battery, we should have more than enough. And then I guess absolute worst case scenario, if there's no other charging nearby and I can't get it working, I could always double back. I'd prefer not to do that, but you got to have faith. So I think we're gonna get ready to close out. Like I said, I tried to restart my phone a bit and it just wouldn't work. And like I said, even if the chargers there aren't working, maybe they're somewhere along the way. And then of course, just in terms of efficiency, I think it's worth noting with this tailwind, you know, where we were roughly this point last trip with 3.3, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour, we're actually at like 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour of efficiency. So let's get ready to head to that originally planned waypoint. Yeah, here you can see it's a 3.9 or 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So we're actually doing pretty well on efficiency. And, you know, I'm not going to dawdle, but just a quick like look at here. And then one of the other things too, and I haven't eaten here yet before, but maybe at one point I will, but they also have their breakfast, the Reyes taco truck right here, it looks like, and they have, you know, food to go. So this is actually another place that you can eat, like a lot of cool little, you know, food here. They have the double level 2 and then the 3 CPE 250s, and then I don't think any of them are paired. I think they're all standalone 62.5 kilowatt, which again, I think they miss an opportunity when they don't pair these, because that's really what makes them usable, especially for, you know, 800 volt architecture EVs. But yeah, let's go ahead and yeah, we're at 30% battery, and the battery's nice and warm, so we've got that as an option now moving forward. So go ahead and return this, and this one was also 61 cents per kilowatt hour, so not cheap, but pretty normal by California standards. So yeah, let's get ready to hit the road. Yeah, it's gonna be a long trip no matter what, so there's no point in dawdling. But yeah, like I said, that wasn't great that that my screen froze again, but it really does seem to be some sort of Android Auto error with just how it interfaces with the screen. All right, well, this is new. Usually you don't see those orange strips on anything other than like Caltrans roadwork vehicles, and there's a Rivian R1T with them, with those decals. Looks like it could be a Caltrans truck, which is kind of interesting because Caltrans bought, yeah, okay, there it is. Caltrans bought a bunch of Silverado EVs as well, and you see them around all over the place. So it looks like someone got a Caltrans budget to splurge on a Rivian R1T. So maybe that's the crew leader's truck. You know, unfortunately, because my screen froze up and it's on the continue to next location, I don't actually have the exit information on my screen. But what was really interesting is this charging site that I'm stopping at had a massive billboard that told me what the exit was. So, you know, I'm struggling. I'm saying, how am I going to find this? I'm just going to basically have to rely on proximity, right? And no, there's just a massive billboard that said, hey, you know what? You exit here. Isn't it great when you have a charging site that has a billboard directing you to where you need to exit? I think that's pretty crazy. From this exit, we're a half mile to where we're heading. Thanks to a massive billboard, I knew where to exit, and I'm guessing the cat is now out of the bag in the sense that, well, there's a bunch of signage and it's pretty clear where I'm going, and I'm not going to wait for them. And you might be saying, hey, wait a minute, this is a Flying J and you didn't visit it last time. And you're right, I didn't visit it last time because I didn't realize this Flying J was here. And then now I do. And not only is it here, it's live and in living color. So notice this is just nothing here. I can't even watch Fox News and CNBC. You guys really have no clue what I watch, do you? All right, but man, we're up to 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour. You know, I would normally turn this off here, but I can't. So, you know, pro tip, off. Isn't that cool? So let's get out here for a second. And I think I know what happened. So we're at a Pilot Flying J with a very loud train. And I think the other site was not a sleeper site. So I'll explain what I think happened as I try to plug in left-handed. And again, like I said, I haven't had to support these cables. Auto charge has worked, and this makes, I don't know how many dozens of times. All right, I'm not going to I'm not going to jinx myself here, but if this activation works, it will literally be like dozens of times now where I am 100% first time activation success at a Pilot Flying J. I mean, I'm trying to keep track. You all watch my videos. Have you ever seen me plug in at a Pilot Flying J GM Energy Charger and not have it work when I did? I don't recall a single failure. I think the only time I've had it fail is when I wasn't driving an EV. Funny enough, I just met someone who asked me about electric, and I now have a new subscriber. So yeah, that's it really is a Boltmas miracle. So, but yeah, so we're here at this Pilot Flying J. This one only has a PJ Fresh and Cinnabon. And so, yeah, here we have the transformer went in. Again, for this one, I'm expecting it's a 750 kVA, but that's going to be typical for these two 350 kilowatt unit sites. And so what I think happened here is this is the site that we knew about, and I think Walter thought that this was the, and correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, in the comments, but Walter thought this was the 6-stall 3-unit one, the French camp one. So the one we visited was, I think people were putting pictures on this plug share for that other site. So this was the earlier site to go in. It already has power, it's already live. The other one is 20 miles north. So the way this layout works on I-5, this site, this French camp site, is basically 20 miles south. So this one is south of Stockton. The other one is north of Stockton. And so what you end up with is basically these bookend Stockton on I-5, and they and from there you can basically skip over Stockton while you're on I-5. So again, though, this is that pretty standard squeegee, trash can, squeegee, trash can. This one has a canopy. but it's only two 350 kilowatt chargers, no pull-through parking. But if you pull in from that side over there where like the PG&E truck is, you can then plug in probably without detaching a trailer. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be a usable site for trailers with any sort of pull through. You're going to have to like detach and leave a trailer over there and then pull in. So that's unfortunate. And then it looks like this was certified by Pierce on December 10th. So I don't know that I've seen any indications that this site has gone live yet. I just noticed it. I put it in as a waypoint because of where I was planning to stop, and then I noticed it said 4 stalls available, and that kind of gave me a hint because, like I said, we knew that there was a 6 stall canopy location going in, but it turns out that that 6 stall canopy location that's going in is the one in Flag City. So 20 miles separating them, but overall this is a great site. This is one that I would be less likely to use just because like the amenities aren't necessarily the same ones that I would care for. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna like thumb my nose up at this site, but this wouldn't be my priority. My priority would be the probably the one in Flag City, especially since that's a site that I typically stop at anyway. And then one of the other things that I noticed, this is only 53 cents per kilowatt hour. So I say only, but again, in California, 53 cents per kilowatt hour tends to be pretty cheap. And it's definitely on the cheaper side for GM Energy Pilot Flying J. I guess just a quick, yeah, see like these double stalls here are perfect for a trailer, but here's the cabinets, and then just as a confirmation, this is the 1200 amp site, and this is 345 Roth Road in Lathrop. So yeah, just overall. And then of course, this is interesting. This is a Flying J, and the other one is a Flying J, and I want to say that the canopy was labeled Flying J. This one is labeled Pilot in GM Energy. I'm not sure that there's anything to that. So overall, just really nice. And like I said, I am still 100% first time success rate with these chargers. I was a little worried with this site just now coming online. I think it must have come online just in the last few days. But it's online, worked right away, no complaints. And then, like I said, only a half mile off the freeway. So yeah, no complaints at all. Maybe I was wrong on this. It looks like both of these Pilot Flying J sites were known about because they have separate PIPs now. So maybe someone corrected them. I don't know, but I could have sworn I remembered seeing them originally put the 6 stall location here, and this is the French camp location. But again, no complaints, everything's working perfectly. I went ahead and put the featured site in the destination, and we have about 60 miles to go to visit Santa. So let's get ready to hit the road. Turn this off. Stop charge. We've been here for, oh wow, 17 minutes, way too long. So, but overall, great site. And we will hit the road. So let's see. A lot of times it still processes. Ugh. Yeah, not super enthusiastic about those cable retention and how close the bollards are. Not a super great user experience, but nothing horrible. At least the cable weight is more than manageable. So, woohoo! Thank you, Flying J. And at 53 cents per kilowatt hour, it is not a bad price at all. And like I said, we've got the canopy, 4 stalls, squeegees, trash cans, dog park, food, bathroom, lighting, security, on-site personnel. I have no idea. Maybe that is just a Tesla Megapack there. I think they said that that's like a food processing plant of some sort. Yeah, we'll see. And then, of course, now we get to see how... Yeah, I think it's half a mile, a little under half a mile from the southbound side of the interstate, and it looks like there's about 0.4 miles to get back on it. Yeah, and it's just a natural left turn. So, and these are stop signs rather than stop lights. So if there's no one else here, there's no waiting. So that in and of itself is also kind of cool. So, and then you're right back on the freeway again. So yeah, I would say the lack of stop lights could be a blessing or a curse depending on how busy it is. And then just under that half mile from the freeway metric. All right, and as we kind of make our way through traffic here again, I just wanted to call this out as we crest over the top of this hill. I think it's pretty close to this, or it's only a mile or two more to the Patterson exit. Now, this Patterson exit, I used to use this way back in the day when Electrify America was one of the only charging stations here, and they're in the actual town of Patterson, way off the beaten map. Funny enough, I might actually want to stop by there if there isn't a more convenient Walmart on the return. Tycon on the trailer too, if you caught that in the periphery. But yeah, so this Patterson exit though, right next to the freeways, there's some significant services and just right off the freeway, and we have a supercharger that went in and another Pilot Flying J that went in, and I visited and used this Pilot Flying J a few different times already, and just based on tracking the map, it's about 30-ish miles south of the French Camp one. So basically, in about a 50 to 60 mile stretch, there are 3 different Pilot Flying J stations. Little did you know we were heading to the Shire. We're just passing Vista Point, which it's so funny. Like every time I drive by, I look at Vista Point and I say, oh, wouldn't that be a cool place to stop? And I never do. Maybe one of these days. But yeah, it's kind of out of the way. And the funny thing is, I don't think that there is no Vista Point northbound. So, but it is a really nice view of the hills. I think if you're going to do some sort of photography or anything like that, you'd probably wait for a slightly different time. But the hills are green and alive with music. So, yeah, I could see this being a pretty scenic time to just kind of stop and watch the sunrise, watch the sunset. There were a lot of people up there, though, so I wonder how crowded that actually gets when it's the ideal time, like the golden hour or whatever. Well, I said we would be visiting Santa, but I never said which Santa. So, welcome to Santanella. So, the site that I'm featuring here, well, there's a long history with Santanella, and I can kind of go over just all the chargers that used to be here, that aren't here anymore, that were here, that are here. One of the other important aspects about Santanella, though, is it does connect over to like Pacheco Pass, and you can go over to Los Banos and all sorts of things, right? So this is a really important interchange. Highway 152 takes you over into the Bay Area, or you cut back and you can reach Highway 99. That's why I said Highway 99 wasn't really usable for a lot of Tesla owners early on, because they were going between the Bay Area and Los Angeles. And so cutting across here to Highway 152 to go east, that's like a 20-mile, 25-mile connection to get to Highway 99 versus the basically 1 or 2 miles if you connect over in Sacramento. And there's a Tesla supercharger here at that Pea Soup Anderson. I don't know how much of this is user error that I'm gonna cut out, but yeah, I think Google Maps is just confused because they want me to turn and then turn and then turn and then turn. Okay, so yeah, this is not ideal, but this is what I signed up for. So here's a couple of pull-through Rivian chargers. And then there's a fairly large Tesla supercharger. Yeah, this is... All right, I've got thoughts about this. I think these are dual-purpose stalls. Oh my goodness, this is just not well thought out. Oh, there they are. Still not well thought out. So let's see. So up to 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour, so not so bad. And I'm pretty sure I need some form of credit card payment. Let's see, like I said, I've never used Rivian before. These are supposed to be open to non-Rivians. Kind of a bit awkward plug there. Connecting. Tap my payment reader. Processing my payment. Approved. Let's see, I'm gonna lift my cable up because I noticed this kind of pulls it away, and these look like the older Hooper plus Sooner cables, though they might be kind of customized for Rivian. I'm not sure. Kind of get a feel for the handshake time here. It went green, car went green, so starting to charge. I'm gonna let off this cable. Like I said, I don't like the amount of weight that's pulling away from the car because I have that finicky cable, and I don't know how finicky Rivian is. But it looks like it, as long as I'm gentle, it looks like it was fine. Charging at 43 kilowatt, which is not great. Interesting. So this right now, I do like this interface, right? So I don't know how well it's coming out on camera, but the time period is highlighted. So Rivian, it's 49 cents per kilowatt hour. This is 53 cents per kilowatt hour. Basically, same thing that I was paying for Pilot Flying J. Get it? Santa? All right. So, yeah, and then this will go down. Wow, off-peak as low as 37 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty good. It's still only 43, so I don't know if this is just... Like I said, I know I was charging much faster than that at the Pilot, so, and my battery didn't get cooler, so I'm not sure. And then gotta be careful here. This would stop that right away. And then I guess if you go here, you can go to details. Yeah, so but I do like how it's pretty noticeable. I do like the Rivian hardware in that it has the indicator lights. So green in use. I guess this is white, which I guess comes out on my camera just fine. I've seen it flicker on others, but white I just think means available. They've got a nice little squeegee here. Oh, I thought that was a trash can, but yeah, there's a, I guess, is that the Blazer? I should be able to identify it on site, but, and these are the Rivian cabinets, right? So, $700 amp total output DC, or 750 amp continuous DC output. So, yeah, I mean, overall, the site looks okay. I'm not a huge fan necessarily of how Rivian does their power splitting, where I think it is on average something like 100 kilowatt per stall when they're all in use, and it like staggers down. I'm not an expert on it. I just know that the total site power is limited, but these might be better. Like 750 amps is a pretty chunky power output, so maybe these updated to where now instead of like 100 per stall, it's like 150 per stall when it's full, which would maybe, I think, makes a lot more sense if that's the case. So if any of you are experts in how Rivian does things, then yeah, let me know in the comments. But yeah, there's a trash can over there. We've got a lounge and kitchen here at the hotel that are open. Basically, it looks like they're open to everybody, so you don't even have to be a guest. So they have the 280A, they have the 2 standard, and then they have the 2 pull-through down there. And I think, like, I give Rivian credit, right? I think Steve mentioned this before, but Rivian has done a great job of opening up their chargers really, really rapidly. And this is a very painless process. Now, I kind of got on their case a little bit because of how slow their rollout has been and how slowly initially, right, it took them to open their chargers, right? Because I thought it was kind of absurd that they would go and install these CCS, right? Their native CCS1 chargers, and then somehow still not make them open and available to everybody. I thought that was a poor business decision, just because of, like, once you commit to putting these chargers in the ground, your return on investment is super limited, unless you're getting a massive amount of throughput. And I know there are some Rivian sites that get extremely busy, but most of the sites that I visited, every time I visited, they were empty. So in order for them to get the return on investment that I think that they would want to get, in my opinion, they really did need to open them up to as many people as they could possibly open them up to. And then that way they would get that sort of return on investment by making them available to everybody and getting that sort of brand awareness. So, but you know, I'm never going to complain about a company doing the right thing. And so by Rivian opening these to non-Rivian owners, it's just an easy, seamless experience. The hardware is good. And I've mentioned this many other times on my channel. I do like the locations where Rivian is putting their chargers better than the locations where most other charging providers are putting their chargers, because their locations appeal more to me. So overall, I like their implementation. I like what they do. There are some things I think that they can improve, but this experience right here has been great. I have no complaints about it, other than just getting in here is kind of hard. This is not, I feel like if you're going to use this charging stop off of I-5, this is almost more of an excursion and maybe an excuse to go into the kitchen or lounge at the Mission Hotel de Oro. Nice facility, almost kind of a resort-like feel. So if that's the case, then go for it, right? This is in some ways kind of similar to Harris Ranch, it feels like, in terms of the feel and the vibe that they're looking for. And it's just a little bit off the beaten path in terms of if you're wanting to access a charger quickly. And basically, I feel like, all of those facilities are all tied to the hotel motel. I walk a lonely road. So these are the pull-through stalls, which are, again, really nice to have. And these are like the full-length pull-through. So if you have a full-size trailer, having two of these. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this layout just in terms of how spread out everything is. But I do appreciate the idea that they have these chargers here that are the dedicated pull-through stalls. Because if you have a trailer, this is going to make a huge difference in your travel experiences. Again, like I said, it's a bit far to get here, but honestly, like, despite the kind of, I don't want to call them propaganda videos or hit piece videos that you see, but despite a lot of the videos that you see with people towing and trailers, once you hook up a massive trailer, an RV, to the back of your vehicle, doesn't really matter, gas, electric, you are not going super fast. So you don't need these charging stops to be immediately off the highway. You don't need them to be the first exit off the off-ramp, right? You're kind of going slow and long, right? Not really like fast and with short stops, right? So I feel like even if you have to make a couple of extra exits to get out here to these, that's fine. And then, like I said, the other chargers over here are dispersed a little bit and kind of confusing, with the two on one side being ADA, two on the other side being the standard. So it's almost like the two that where I'm parked are the ones that you should prioritize unless you are, in an ADA compliant vehicle, placards or whatnot. And then, of course, these should be left for anyone who's towing. And so it's kind of weird how it's dispersed, but it makes sense. And then, like I said, based on what I'm seeing, I believe those are 300 kilowatt cabinets. So having them be able to split. I think one of the advantages of these is that they are 1,000 volt capable, which is why you see that Hyundai Ioniq over there using these chargers as well. It just makes more sense for EGMP vehicles to use 1,000 volt architecture. And then, of course, my Bolt EV is thirsty, so it needs 300 kilowatts all to itself. But yeah, so 750 amps times 3, right? So now you're looking at, 375 amps per stall, which, I think that's passable in terms of power distribution. And then, like I said, maybe for this site, they could even expand a couple more stalls. And it does look like they have the footprint for it. So overall, I'm a fan, Rivian. And then, like I said, unfortunately the closest Rivian Adventure Network site to me is still Rivian only, but this one's not, and it's a really good location for travel. This, like I said, this Santanella stop has a sort of long storied history of charging support. So and then, like I said, everything about this experience was great. I have some concerns, not just with Rivian, but just the cable length and how my port might handle it, but that's not necessarily on Rivian. And then but yeah, the hardware looks good. The amenities look good. And then I don't know, you know, they have the kitchen and lounge open, but I don't know if that's 24/7. So as it is, I think I don't want this trip to go too long. He still needs to eat. I still needs to eat. And you know, there are a few other things that we can do while we're here. So I'm gonna get ready to button this up and hit the road. But for our featured site, first time I've ever used a Rivian Adventure Network charger, and yeah, it's pretty good. All right, just had to get a hopefully a good thumbnail shot, but here we are. Time to visit Santa. So 13070, up to 920 volts, 500 amps. And then let's just check out the interface for how it shuts off. But I mean, it could just be literally this simple, right? Stop. There you go. Yeah, unplug vehicle, and then again, we'll see how their communication is with this, and I don't know if there's any penalty for the idle fees. They might want to set that or show that somewhere. Oh, there it is. Idle fee 50 cents a minute with 10 minutes. So as long as, like I said, my complaint with Electrify America is they don't know how the session was ended, and anybody can end this session. So hopefully there's also some sort of an escalation process with Rivian. So say someone comes by and stops your charge but doesn't unplug you. That would be something malicious, but it'd be something that they could do. Then you know, hopefully you get or they notice, or there's some sort of an escalation process, because what ends up happening, right, is you pay with a card. There's no way for it to communicate to you. So like I said, I don't want to test out that theory, but hopefully Rivian, if you're listening to this, you have some structure in place for if someone wants to dispute that, you know, someone came by and shut off their charge, and it wasn't them. So, but otherwise, like I said, absolutely great experience. So thank you, Rivian. And you got an eGMP customer too. I guess we're here, might as well, right? We'll take the long way around. Like I said, it's these two chargers here. Then over here is the ADA compliant. Like I said, we were joined by a Hyundai Ioniq, and then, I mean, it's a good thing Rivian's here. Otherwise, there'd be no other chargers, and I would be completely boned. I would just be stranded here in Santanella if it weren't for Rivian. Yeah, so just circling around, it looks like there's a lot of stuff here. Like I said, I wouldn't mind checking out this hotel motel maybe, you know, when I'm a big time YouTuber and I make lots of money. But yeah, looks like a Bolt EV over here charging. I don't know how they're even charging over here. But yeah, so, and then it's just a weird sort of dispersed site, 2 and then 2 and then 2. And depending on what your needs are, they're very specifically different chargers. But yeah, overall, like I said, Rivian, and then trash cans, squeegees, really hard to complain with this site the way they have it set up. So, like I said, the thing is, though, we're getting close. The remorseless eating machine eats at 3:30 p.m. 3:29:59. That food better be in front of his face, ready for consumption. And I need to use the bathroom, and I should probably eat an early dinner too. Yeah, and this is actually probably walkable from there, but like I said, I want to get something for him, and I need to use the bathroom, and the only way to do that is to pull in. All right, so that took much longer than I was hoping to get my food, which is probably fogging up the window in front of you right now. The good news is, and this is confirming my theory as something that was able to reset my screen, goodness gracious, it's a zoo here. Because it took so long for me to get my food at In-N-Out, my Bluetooth, I left the car on to keep it cool in here. You know, it's actually relatively cool still, but you know, with the windows up, it's probably going to be too hot. So I left the car on with the fan running to keep the cabin cool for the little guy. And my Bluetooth disconnected. So when it disconnected, it re-engaged my screen in terms of the ability to interact with it. Now, I'm gonna scoot over here. So this was my hope anyway, is I haven't seen this charge point site listed for a very long time. They have taken it out, and it actually looks like it's not just that they took it out. I don't know what it's a Marathon Gas now has taken over this. Oh, okay, so this is still open. I thought it was closed for a second. But yeah, it looks like the charge point units used to be here. It looks like they took them out. That's unfortunate. That was a really important site. I was gonna come over here and just charge up and eat and use them. Now, the other thing is too here, there's, you know, this is just a great stop. I used to love stopping here when I was traveling, so it's a big loss to have that. And then I can't remember if it's this Chevron, but one of these locations is supposed to have a upcoming NEVI site from SkyCharger, which would be something that would be built by Electric Era. And Electric Era, as I keep saying, has been knocking it out of the park. So this is a bit of a zoo off of this exit, but it's kind of sad to see those chargers were ripped out, and I don't know if there's going to be a replacement for them. And then as we come up here, like I said, to the left, there's a Pea Soup Anderson's. There's a supercharger here, an old supercharger here. I believe it was a V2. And then, of course, this TA Travel Plaza was a huge loss because they had these nice FreeWire chargers, and, you know, the FreeWire, and they just tore them out, and now there's absolutely no place for an EV owner to charge at this TA Travel Plaza because BP Pulse is just sleeping on the job. What the actual holy heck in a handbasket. I guess this is another Boltmas miracle. You know, 12 chargers or 12 stalls, that's enough, right? Right? Don't you think? I can't process this right now. I need to eat. Two over here. These are the two ADA stalls, so it's split between. And I mean, I get this design principle from BP Pulse, where it's two NACs and really J3400, and I'll be discussing this a little bit more later, but I'll just call them NACs for shorthand, and that's what BP Pulse calls them. And then two CCS1, and so regardless if you're ADA compliant, you're going to either have a NACS plug available or a CCS1 plug available. Again, I really do prefer, though, switching up the standards. So in this configuration, I would say, oh, CCS1 over on that side. And for common use, it might actually be better for that anyway. And then over here, it would be CCS1 on this side, then, you know, NACS on the other side. But then we have these other four Alpitronics. So this is a pretty standard BP Pulse site that we're now seeing at these TA travel plazas. Again, I don't necessarily like the distribution because this site only has 4 CCS1 plugs. And I mean, I hate to say it this way, but I don't know any delicate way of saying this. But Tesla owners, for the most part, are not going to patronize BP Pulse, right? If you even get a 5 to 10% market share of Tesla owners who prioritize this BP Pulse station over a nearby supercharger, I think that would surprise me if you could even get that many. But that being said, oh, and Walter, you'll love this. This is an IHOP. I forgot. This one is the IHOP and Popeyes. It has a Carl's Jr. next door too. So there's lots of food here. There's lots to do, right? This is really centrally located. I mean, if you're ambitious, you could even walk over to Pea Soup Anderson, but I can't remember if they're even open anymore as a restaurant. Used to be a really wonderful place to go over and get some food, obviously Pea Soup, but they also had a great gift shop and bakery where you could pick stuff up. So it was just overall wonderful. And then of course, this is the Loves that also has a Nevi site. So this Santanella location also has 2 Nevi locations planned. So I think this is above and beyond. This was, like I said, I believe it was on the other side though. Actually, I'm gonna swing by as we leave. It's too far to walk, but I think they're covered up and closed, and I don't know if they're gonna be replaced. But on the other side is where the free wires were located. And so they put these over here, maybe a better location. Unlike some of the other sites though that we've seen, these don't have the columns installed. Now we were thinking those columns could be lights or they could be a canopy. So this might not ever be a canopy site. And realistically, yeah, it might get a little bit hot in summer. But this tends to be one of the more temperate areas, just mostly rainfall. You're never gonna get snow here. I say never as we approach a 2 centigrade average global temperature increase. But anyway, yeah, so this is just a great implementation. I don't see the transformer in yet, but you know, there's tables out front of the Popeyes. Yeah, and you get IHOP, so you could actually just make your own chicken and waffles if you wanted to. But none of these screens are lit up yet. So I don't know what the ETA is. Like I said, there's still work being done over there. I'm guessing this is where the transformer is gonna go in. So again, we can probably gauge how long it's gonna be before this site opens based on when that transformer finally goes in. I don't want to get too close into things here with, you know, obviously construction still taking place, exposed wires, things like that. I just wanted to see if there's anything like a placard that's publicly open yet that, oh yeah, so we can come in from this angle and see. Like I said, these are usually this is a 3,000 amp site, so I think that was right, the same as the other one. 12310 California Route 33 Santanella, and yeah, 3,000 amp. It's 3,000 or 3,500 amp, but yeah, I think that's a pretty standard implementation for BP Pulse right now. They just have these Alpitronic HYC 400s and they're just planting them in the ground wherever they'll go. So yeah, I'm super impressed with this. I'm not going to dawdle too long. Like I said, you know, the day is getting long and we're, well, the day's short, nights are getting long, but we need to get back. But yeah, so it's just a standard run-of-the-mill 12 stall 6 400 kilowatt Alpitronic deployments. It's crazy to me to think that this is just standard now. Like where was this 4 years ago, 5 years ago? Nothing like this in place. And then of course you got the nice windmill site or shot on the other side. So yeah, and then like I said, I did intend to be charging, but I guess the charge points were down or removed, so I just had to eat like a normal person, and then yeah, we'll hit the road. Wow, good job, BP Pulse. This is impressive. Santanella keeps giving Boltmas gifts. Santanella, do 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 do. We'll just sully ourselves by driving through the gas pumps. Oh man, this guy's going that way. I'm gonna go this way. Ram, you can't ram your way through everything. So they say coming soon. I believe these are the old FreeWire units, though. They have to be. I'm not going to lift up the cover, but I don't actually think these are coming soon. I think these might be getting replaced soon, though I suppose, is it possible these could also be Alpitronics under here? At which point this goes from being a 12 stall station to a 16 stall station. If they can pull that off, then great. I'm just not 100% certain what that is. So, yeah, because I believe this is where the FreeWire units used to be, and I thought that they were being replaced. And then I'm just gonna turn in here. This Love site is also supposed to be one of the Nevi sites, and I don't see any work here or any room, but they do have an empty lot next to it. This is just a really cramped facility, so this is one of their Nevi locations. So they have a couple of banks of chargers over here where they could put it. They could put it next to this. There's a dog park around back, but really where like I said, there's an empty lot here too, and an abandoned building. This actually looks like a great location for Iona, honestly, right? So that's not part of this Love's facility. So I just don't know where Love's would be putting chargers in unless they're in one of these side parking lots. And I saw the superchargers still in the ground here at the Pea Soup Anderson. So really, Santanella at this point is waiting for BP Pulse to activate this TA Travel Plaza location, and for the two Nevi. Oh, what are they doing? That was very strange. Yeah, and then the two Nevi locations, and like I said, I didn't check out the Petro Shell recharge, but that's also up the street. So you see the freeway right there. This is the exit that we wanted to take, and it's basically an immediate onto this Ward Road, which then runs parallel to the freeway. So we drove a little bit out of the way, but we didn't really burn any extra energy just based on the route being a little bit slower. And yeah, this is one of those things where if you blink, you miss it, but there's an entrance right here, right after the intersection to go into the Walmart. And well, it doesn't look like literally doesn't look like anyone is using the chargers. You know, I wonder if I should do an ABC here. You know, I haven't actually used one of these chargers with a credit card reader before, so oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. This one, the two left units are both 350 kilowatt. So these are the old ABB Terra HPs. So I guess we can see if their credit card reader actually works. Maybe it'll cancel and charge me a idle fee. All right, let's see if we can get this charger working with the credit card. Probably not the ideal camera setup. We've got pretty strong wind too. There you go, that's what you get, no tripod. Again, I'm following on-screen instructions as well as possible. So it's connecting. And the problem here is too, I don't know that the credit card reader is working. Oh, now it's processing payment. And I am holding up my cable because I know it won't do it otherwise. So processing, processing, processing. Payment declined. So again, these are the issues where that people have had with Electrify America, and just why it's not worth it. I'm gonna just try to tap this time. So it's connecting. It doesn't like the chip reader, but it likes the tap to pay. So again, I think if you're gonna do a credit card reader that only likes one way of reading, it really needs to be clear that that's the only way to pay with it. So it did initiate, but there's a lot of slack on this cable. I just feel it pulling out of my hand. So unfortunately, like I said, problem with not having a membership is that you have to pay this higher fee. Screen that isn't really responding. And I guess, yeah, you can set yourself up to receive by text. So if it cancels on you, then you don't have to pay an idle fee, I guess. But yeah, these screens aren't even responding. Yeah, like I said, it's still like when there was no other option, these were okay. But when there are other options, they're just kind of, lackluster by modern standards. And now I'm paying way more than I should be paying, for a lackluster experience. But I need to grab some stuff, and hopefully this saves me some time on my trip. So I think we are actually going to skip the Pilot Flying J here. We're still going to drive by it just to get back onto the freeway. We're already past 55%. We've been here for almost 20 minutes already, so I was able to grab some cat food. But yeah, I think it's time for us to go. Credit where credit's due. Electrify America worked. This, I don't know if it's the interface or these buttons, but they don't seem to be responding. Again, I think these units are probably due for a upgrade. So I'm just gonna have to shut off by pressing the release button on the CCS cable, and then hopefully it gets the message that it's been disconnected and stopped. Luckily I have the camera going, so you can confirm this has gone back. All right, well, there you go, finally. I don't know if it's, again, I don't know what the issue is with this, of the lack of response on the screen or on the buttons, but it's not responding and it's not my problem. The other thing that I like about this location is that, yeah, you have to deal with like a stop sign here, and this parking lot can get pretty busy, but the way to get out here is you actually come up to Ward here, just right there, that exit, and then you turn right. And so it's kind of counterintuitive, but what you're doing is you're actually circling the block, so you get all the way, you get to avoid all of the other traffic and rigmarole of getting through that shopping plaza, and you circle around it on a main road that then exits you out here, where there's actually an intersection and a light. So you basically get the benefit of not driving through the parking lot like this person just did, and the benefit of a green, it's not always going to be a green intersection, but this is obviously yield on green. But as you can see, this Electrify America site, not the most convenient in terms of the distance from the freeway. And I've even kind of criticized this Pilot Flying J location here because of all of the charging stops that are on this exit and the ones that are pending going in. It's probably the least convenient to get to outside of the Electrify America. And the Electrify America, I almost consider as more of a town city support charger, but you can tell just by the amount of usage. Normally Electrify Americas, even in the middle of the week, even at this time of day along I-5, normally Electrify Americas will be fairly busy. That had no one at it. The entire 20 minutes that we were there, we were the only ones there charging and using it. So it's telling me that, well, we'll see. As we drive by this Flying J, we'll be able to see if anybody's at these chargers, and then I don't know how well we'll be able to see whether anybody's at like the superchargers, but so, well, there's a bus charging at one of them. I can't see around the bus to see if anybody else is. So part of it's taken, but yeah, you can see it's a whole nother 2 lights from where the other chargers are. So I think this Starbucks up here was listed as a Nevi location. I don't really see any activity there. Who knows, that could also be a Mercedes-Benz location coming soon. And then this is where the Tesla superchargers are, behind this Chevron. But I think this Chevron location, or one of these locations, is also a listed Nevi site, and I think there's supposed to be work happening at this Love's. So, but I can't really see any activity, right? Like each one of these exits, I don't think that it's an exaggeration to say that on I-5, each one of these exits would likely take 30 minutes to fully investigate once you pull off the road. And I don't have that kind of time, even on these Boltmas videos, to every exit that's noteworthy to spend 15, 20, 30 minutes driving around all of the upcoming charging sites that we at least know are green lit, but might take more or less time to build depending on who the charging provider is, who the CPO is. Quite a bit of a traffic at some of these junctions here, and this is common, but also just this timing, we're kind of hitting rush hour traffic right now. So I'm sure that we have a lot of commuters on the road at this point. I forgot how close it actually was. We're at almost 40% battery, and we only have 6 miles to go to get there. So this is that case where the charger in Flag City would actually be significantly better, and I might actually just want to use that charge point in Flag City instead, because by the time I get to this Flying J, we're barely going to be able to add any range because we're going to be so close to 50% that I would literally just be stopped and charging for less time than it took me to get off the freeway. And this is kind of what I was talking about, is this nice little 20 to 30 mile increment between these Flying J locations means that, hey, oh, I don't want to come in with 40% battery. I would rather come in with 30% battery, so let me drive to the next stop. This is one of those things where I feel like having these smaller charging stations but deployed across a broader spectrum of areas really helps out. I'm disregarding Google's directions because when I asked it to direct me to Flag City, it automatically tried to direct me to the Flying J that we were just at, whereas here we don't need to be doing that. We can just kind of duck in right here. And again, this is one of those things that I love about these CPE 250s. I think good charging hardware designers have understood this for a little while now, is that you want to have some sort of an indicator on the charging hardware that whether it's working, whether it's in use, whether it's available. So we'll just pull right in over here and get ourselves a nice little charge going. Authorizing, plugging in, and again, the one big bugaboo I have is how these cables wrap around. And then, yeah, so that if you want to know how long the handshake takes and how long for these chargers to start up, the time elapsed is from the moment it actually plugs in and makes contact with the vehicle. So yeah, it's basically 22 seconds. A little slower than I remember, but still on par with the Signets from Electric Era. Wow, time flies. I was literally just checking a couple of messages and we're already over 50%. Like I said, we only have 93 miles to go. This minimum range didn't reset. We're going to be close. I'm not going to rush though right now because I do want to still, well, let's do a little bit of B-roll because I wanted to look at this site while it's still lit up, you know, because at nighttime, you know, you can't really discount the importance of having good lighting. And it just kind of shows the site a little bit different. And of course, there's, for a Boltmas video, there's also the fact that kind of Christmas themed, almost, not quite, but yeah, just really prominent lights, really easy to read. It's not clear whether it's clear on camera, but once it focuses in, yeah, the ChargePoint Expresses are really easy to read, or the CPE 250s are really easy to read. And then, like I said, well, it's Flag City, so there are flags. And we still have a decent headwind. Like I said, there's a McDonald's here too. There's lots of stuff that you can do just off this exit. I mean, in theory, you could pull into this parking stall and use like the air and water, right? So all sorts of facilities. I don't know, like with the level 2, the only thing I could think of is there are some nearby hotel motels, like there's a Best Western over there or whatever. They might even have their own level 2, but if they don't, this is also super convenient. And because they put so many stalls here that can be reached by these CPE 250s, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then technically the stall on the other side, 5. So there's a lot of stalls that can be reached. So even if you wanted to park here with level 2 AC, you probably wouldn't really be blocking anybody. But like I said, I want to kind of hit the road. I think we have enough to make it 90 miles even with the headwind, but it is getting pretty chilly, but it's also getting pretty late, so I don't want to wait too long. Oh, yeah, for a second there, I thought it said we had been here for 36 minutes. Oh, that was 36 minutes they thought to go to 80%. So yeah, we were here for 21 minutes, which was a little bit longer than what I wanted to be here for, but not significantly so. And this acrylic is a little bit nicer than the other, but it still doesn't read very well. So yeah, we can hit the road. Yeah, honestly, I probably should have actually run the heater for a second there, because like I said, it's already getting pretty chilly. But this is just a great site overall. Like I said, that taco truck is still open and available, but well placed just off the freeway. These aren't the fastest charging speeds, but if you're in an EV that doesn't really need like faster than 100 kilowatt charging, then they're fine. And like I said, if you are stopping for a meal or whatever, they're also not bad. And I mean, I guess in theory, like for some EVs, if you're gonna spend the night, I could see plugging in like a Hummer EV or whatever at one of those 50 kilowatt chargers. You know, go into your room, relax, do whatever it is you want to do, and then you know, a few hours later, 3 hours later, you can go, oh, are we gonna miss this light? Big semi. But, oh, what are you doing, buddy? Good thing we're nimble. But, yeah, and then I could see if you're a bigger battery EV or whatever, you can just go ahead and plug in and settle in your room. You could be there for 3-4 hours or whatever and still not be fully charged. All right, so we are now heading into Sacramento. I've been monitoring, right, the range estimator plus the range to get to Williams, and I know this isn't an exact geolocation for the Electric Era site, but right now we have a minimum estimated range of 59 miles, and it's 60 miles to get there. I don't want to just assume that we have enough energy, because when we were out in the open on the freeway, you know, 70 mile an hour sections of the freeway, the wind was quite strong. It might have picked up even more since when we left, and our efficiency was just really, really terrible. Oh, okay, so here's the downtown J Street, so we should be coming up on Old Town Sacramento on this other side, kind of the historic buildings. Yeah, it looks like, no, they still have some of the lights up, so you haven't missed the Christmas lights yet. All right, so we're heading into Dunnigan now. Our minimum range is actually down to 20 miles now, and the trend bars are saying that even that might be optimistic. Like I said, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time charging, but I also don't want to make unnecessary stops. It's kind of a balancing act here. But the wind has really, really picked up in terms of a headwind. So just to put it into perspective, at 70 miles an hour, we're using somewhere between 7 and 8 kilowatts more of real-time power than we were using heading down. So we're, you know, consuming or using about 30 kilowatt at 70 miles an hour into the headwind, where we were using maybe less, sometimes less than 20 kilowatt heading south. So it's a significant shift, and I can even see the green on the charge point from here as we pull in. So again, it's always nice to know before you commit to actually pulling into a business whether the charger is working and available, or at least, you know, appears to be working and available. There could always be issues with connections and payments and connectivity and communications and whatever, but the unit itself is up. Authenticating, authorizing. Oh, I didn't read my card this time. Well, at least not the first time, then it read it the second time. So I did get a notice that it needed to update my payment, so maybe that's what it was. Locked in place. It's already checking the voltage. Yep, so started right at about 20 seconds startup time. So as you can see here, right, I just put in Williams. I didn't do the exact address for the Electric Era site. So it might be as much as even a mile off. I doubt it is, but 22 miles, and then the low estimator hasn't updated, so that 18 is what it was when we pulled in here. We were at 12%. Go ahead and charge up to 22% maybe for science, or I'll just charge to 25%, and then when we arrive I can just say, okay, well, I added 13%. So hopefully it doesn't get worse than that. Because like I said, the wind is pretty significant, and I don't need to just arrive at the Electric Era empty. 36 hours, that's quite a lot of time remaining. But yeah, I think we'll just go to 25% and hit the road. And then, like I said, just based on what we arrive with, we can, so 8 minutes to add about 13%, I think, something like that. And then we can kind of tell from there what we ended up with. So yeah, a little bit longer than I intended to stay, but not too bad. Yeah, normally I would never travel this way. This just doesn't make sense from a charging perspective to do this. I know, like, on cannonball runs or whatever, you'll see people attempt to drive this way, but I think that's as much a failing of the car as it is anything else, because even a stop like this, where you're literally one turn, you're off the freeway, one turn, and here you are back on the freeway again. Even this stop, right, it's a significant amount of time. And then again, with a charge point, you're talking about only requiring 20 seconds to activate. So all of that still, you're looking at close to about 3 to 5 minutes of slop time in the best case scenario. And so the shorter your charging session, regardless of how much it adds, the larger percentage, right, of time is devoted to just exiting and entering the freeway. So if every charging session is 5 minutes and you're adding 100 miles, but it's taking you 5 minutes to get to the charger, activate, hook up, unhook, get back on the freeway again, well, you're basically effectively doubling your charging time. So even if it takes you 8 minutes or 9 minutes to get to 150 miles over a long period of time, you're better off charging to 150 miles than you are charging to 100 miles and eating that additional 5 minutes every stop. We are now heading into Williams, and we already had the orange light and audible orange charge vehicle soon warnings come up. The reason I'm charging up here rather than charging longer there is just that this is going to be a more convenient, easy way for me to get home, right? Like with a reasonable charge, because this is closer. So, rather than charge up longer when I'm farther away, I get to charge up here for hopefully a shorter period of time and have a better gauge of how much energy I'll be able to make it home with. And again, nobody's at the Electric Era site, which I think is, as I've stated, I feel like they are criminally underutilized given the superior location relative to the freeway compared to something like the supercharger that's here at this exit. If you're CCS, native CCS, this is likely a better stop for you, and just in terms of the overall diversity and quality of amenities, it's just a better location. Plug in, again following on-screen instructions. Put my card in, remove card. Now it said 39 seconds. We'll see when it actually activates. So this is a longer activation, almost 29 seconds. All right, well, according to the Electric Era charger, we arrived with 10% battery. So had I tried to make it without stopping at Dunnigan, I likely would have been negative 3% battery, and the Bolt EV doesn't have a bottom buffer. So, if you even want to reverse all the way back to where we were in Flag City, had I charged to 60% instead of what it was like 56%. I won't say I could have comfortably made it here, but I could have made it here without stopping. So, and then of course there's always the option to slow down slightly, draft vehicles if you have to. So there's a lot that you can do along the route. I just didn't want to have to slow down, and knowing that I had other charging options available along the way, I just figured, why not just jam it as quickly as I can, and then like I said, from there we'll just charge up as we need to. Given the conditions, given the temperature, just having a little bit of extra buffer when I get home, and then not needing to rely on solar or whatever, I'm probably going to want to charge up to at least 35 to 40%. So we haven't tapered yet, but it's not really that important at this point. Like I said, I just want to go ahead and get home. We should be able to get home before 9 p.m. I grabbed some coffee, used the bathroom, ate a snack, had a bit of a emergency because the little boy lost one of his treats. Yeah, actually, while I was here, I was kind of curious because I don't think I saw how much power they put on that transformer. I don't recall ever checking what the transformer is in terms of kVA value. But yeah, the kVA should be able to be a little bit smaller because they have their on-site battery. So even though this is technically 800 kilowatt of site power, the location is actually doesn't need that much of a power drop. So then again, we're joined, I think, by the BZ, which is nice to see, but still, I don't feel like enough usage. This site doesn't get as much usage as would be justified. But yeah, we were here for, let's do 26 minutes so we can channel our inner 2027 Chevrolet Bolt and say that we went from 10% to 80% in 26 minutes instead of 10% to 47%. So no issues. Like I said, and like it, now that I'm actually, oh, I guess they're gonna want me to put this back one-handed. But like I said, now that I've been tracking it a little bit closer, this I feel like this. Yeah, I think that was 10% is what we arrived at. But now that I've been tracking it a little bit closer, I feel like the handshake time for these is about the same as charge point. So again, not class leading, but basically right behind the leader Tesla. So that is a way of measuring that difference, or how much significant of a gain it would be. Because like I said, you know, the Chevy Bolt and the new Chevy Bolt and then this older Chevy Bolt EV have very similar ranges in terms of overall just battery range. But if you're going 10% to 80% in 26 minutes, whereas this Bolt EV was only going 10% to 47% in 26 minutes, which is about right. You know, I figure the best charging sessions for the Bolt EV are probably 35 minutes or so, starting somewhere between 10 and 20% and ending somewhere between 55 and 65%. Those are going to be your most productive charging stops. So I think 26 minutes, 10% to 47% is about right. But like I said, looking at that 2027 Chevrolet Bolt coming out, 10% to 80% in the same amount of time. So you're adding an appreciable amount more energy, not or range, not quite 100% more range, but probably what, 75. I'd have to do the math and not be able to do it in my head, but yeah, you're adding a significant amount more range in the same period of time. Made it home. I guess a little under 11 hours to go 429 miles, just under 430 miles. Efficiency took a hit on the return, but it's in the 30s now. When we got back and we were facing an even stronger headwind than when we were going down. And again, you know, a lot of people will say, well, a headwind cancels itself out on the return or vice versa. Not really. You never gain as much from a tailwind as you lose from a headwind. So it's always going to be a net negative. And in this case, I think like the headwind on the return was actually even more significant than the tailwind on the way down. But got to say a lot of cool stuff this time too. Some surprises for me. I think I went in thinking that only one of those Flying J's, I'll just say in the Stockton area, was known. But the one I guess in Lathrop was also known about. So one 6-stall, one 4-stall, but the 4-stall in French Camp is open, which I was surprised to see when I put it into PlugShare. Just looking at my route on the way down. And then the 6-stall still isn't open, doesn't even have a transformer, the one on the Highway 12 exit. But then, you know, got the chance to test out ChargePoint. It's been working great. 2 different sites, 2 different times. Even Electrify America was okay once I realized that it was very specific about how it wanted me to present my credit card. And then of course Rivian, like I said, you know, credit where credit is due. They're opening up their network, so they only have a few sites left that are not open to non-Rivian EVs. It looks like they upped their site power, so I thought before it was limited to about 100 kilowatt per stall when the site is full, but it looks like it's up to now 150 kilowatt per stall, which is a great improvement. Still only 6 stalls, but dedicated pull-through stall. And Rivian, their adventure network, they do tend to put chargers in places where other public charging providers have sort of failed to cover. It's basically Rivian and Tesla putting in chargers where no one else sees an ROI, which makes sense because these are automaker owned networks, not just automaker contributed and or farmed out like GM Energy to EVgo or whatnot. So a lot to like there. And then of course BP Pulse is just, this is, like I said, this is, I think, what Walter and I had talked about a number of times on Coast to Coast EVs, and that's that these titans, like the Walmarts, like the BP Pulses, like the Ionas now too, Flying J, right? When they get going, they are just going to put their foot down, and you're going to start seeing charging sites everywhere. And this is exactly what I expected, seeing these Alpitronic 12 stall units basically at all of these Petro TA travel plazas, especially the ones that are not identified as NEVI funded, because those ones I believe are specifically talking about getting access to the HYC 1000s. And then those two, I think, old free wires are still there in Santanella. So Santa was kind to us for Boltmas. We had lots of surprises, lots of adventures, and Electric Era, bringing us home like they always do. So all told, great trip. Like I said, 11 hours to go 429 miles, and I left with 60% battery and was not necessarily doing this trip in order to make great time. I think we were there for a long time and a great time, not a short time, however that goes. Anyway, thank you for watching, and Merry Boltmas.